Hello and welcome to the space that gives you inspiration on work, on life, and how to balance both worlds. You guys really like this femininity topic, don't you? Wow! The feedback though. I just want to, someone was talking to me and I guess they hadn't gotten the difference between the times when you should be masculine and when you should be feminine. And I just thought before I go into the next phase, the next sense, because we're now talking about the five senses, I just needed to clear the air really, really quickly. There is a place for strong women, and this strong woman can also be, the strong masculine woman can also be feminine. Like the masculine side of me can also be, I can be both, right? That's, well, at least that's how I feel. And so the question that someone asked me was, where is a place for women in like fighting for the rights of people? And I'm reminded of Numbers. It's Numbers 23, I think, with Zelophehad's daughters, who, when the Israelites were in the wilderness, there was a law that was passed from God, obviously. Are you listening? From God, obviously, and that every male or every man would have land when they reach the promised land. So they kind of, it's like they divided the land in the promised land even before they got to the promised land. Now, by the time they got into the promised land, Zelophehad had died and he'd had 5 daughters. And according to the law, only boys would be the ones that could inherit the land. So now that meant when they reached the promised land, Zelophehad's daughters were not going to get any land. Guess what happened? These 5 daughters, these 5 girls, went and headed over to Moses and said, no, this can't work. Why is it that we can't have land as daughters just because we are girls and not boys? Why can't we have land? And well, he went, asked God about it. Guess what happened? God told him to change the law. So yes, there is a place for strong women. And I feel like us we're so lucky because men can't be feminine, but us, we can be feminine and masculine. Like, see these 5 girls fight for their rights, right? And then the Lord changes his law because 5 girls said we're fighting for their rights. So yes, there's a place for strong women. Anyway, back to the feminine side of us women, because I guess the world has taught us to fight and we are too strong, too heavy for ourselves, that now it's time for us to embrace our femininity. Last week we talked about the sense of taste when people come around you as a feminine woman. People, especially the ones in your home. I find that femininity is best practiced first at home, or at least that's where I am for now, okay? So what's the next sense that I would like to talk about? And it's the sense of touch. The sense of touch. What feeling do you evoke when people, do you evoke when you touch the people around you? And I usually want to start with our children. These 10 fingers and these 5, this is what we use to touch, okay? And the question is, when you touch, what is it like? Especially for our children. For many of us, our children know these fingers, these hands, for spanking, for slapping, for pinching, for pulling ears, for like things like that. We rarely use our hands to touch for softness and welcoming, and like I find myself many times, like with my kids, I use my fingers to tickle and to hug. And there are times when I will pinch their little bum, like, so that they're going like, ah, what happened? But it brings a certain sense of warmth inside them, because that's what touch is supposed to do. I feel like touch is supposed to create a sense of warmth. Like if you just, like you feel you see your leg, my leg, like now for example, when I put my hands, there is supposed to be a certain level of heat generated. And so this heat for children brings warmth for them. Like I want you to just remember, like when you were sick as a child, what it felt like every time your mom touched you. And so use that, what you remember then, to use it even for now. When you hug them, Bianca just did like this for me. Because hugging, your arms, actually I shouldn't just say your hands, it's your arms. That feeling for children should bring them warmth, okay? And then when it comes to them as children, it's that warmth should make them feel welcome, make them feel safe, make them feel at home. Like these arms, that warmth, that's what it does. It helps them feel safe and warm and at home. It's meant to show them love, right? I mean, there's some of us who our love language is touch. That's how powerful these hands and these arms are. I treasure being able to hug my children in a way that they can curl up inside of me, that I can embrace them, because these hands are also, they show protection, and they make them feel safe, and they give them protection and security. That's what the power of our arms are. And I feel like sometimes it gets lost in translation. It gets lost in the translation of slaps and caning, and that's what our hands do. And it just helps to know the power that's inside your hands. And as a woman who's practicing femininity, to use your hands, therefore, in like when I'm holding them and I'm hugging them and I'm putting them towards my bosom, it's extremely important as a woman who's practicing her femininity to use her hands. So there's a certain level of importance for me as a woman being feminine, recognizing the power inside my hands and what it can do for my children. And then there's a significant other, the man. The power of your hand. Like, I feel like when we use our hands correctly, we evoke chemistry, we evoke lightening, we evoke like that very feeling when we touch. And so we need to be very strategic on how we use our hands for our significant others. And I feel like it's kind of, we use our hands for the reverse when it comes to our significant other. So you see how you used your hands to show your child they're safe. Now with your significant other, you use your hands to seek for safety. You understand what I mean? So like, say for example, you're walking, so you get your hand behind his hand to ask for safety. You see how when we were talking about the kids, and I said our hands show love to our children. Now, when we are working in the reverse with our significant other, our hands are supposed to, I want to say seek, but I'm using the word ever too strongly, right? To seek the love, with our significant other. And so, say for example, if you're walking, to be able to hold his hand and to, to just to tell him I'm here. You know what I mean? That's what the hand is. And so if you're walking together, to intertwine your hands between each other, to be in bed with him and to put your hand on his chest. So those, those little senses, guys, our hands have so much power, right? So all the things that I talked about that our hands do for our children, now our hands seek for in our significant other. It doesn't matter what it is that I said for the children. If it is protection, you can seek protection from your significant other using your hands. Now, one of the things then therefore that's extremely important is what your hands look like and what your hands feel like. Now, unfortunately for me, which is not anything that I could do much about, is that I was born with these ugly fingers, right? So they don't necessarily look wonderful, but there's certain people for whom their hands like have a capacity to look beautiful, but they've done nothing about it. Like you don't use it to your advantage. Even us who have ugly hands, we are using for our advantage. How much more you understand what I mean? Like how much more you to make them, like use them, like wear like nice varnish and let them look nice. You know what I mean? There's people who have very soft hands. Like there are people who touch me and are just like, hey princess. Have you ever had a hard day in your life? Have you ever worked a day in your life? Because of how soft their hands are. So that to the sense of touch, it's so magical. You know what I mean? And so there's a place for you as a woman. What do your hands look like? What do they feel like? And what's the sensation they cause on the person that you do it to, especially your children and your significant other? And how important it is for us to be intentional about these hands, and how when we touch, the sense of touch, what it does to the person behind our touch, right? I can't wait to see you next week when we talk about the next sense. See you. Don't forget, share, subscribe, comment, all those good things. But next week, we continue to talk about this journey of femininity. Until next time, bye-bye. Mwah.